want to know more about groin grabbing, moonwalking, and that squeaky voice? You've come to the right place. This is the untold story of Michael Jackson. Hello and welcome to today's episode, which is all about the king of pop, Michael Jackson.
Woo.
Hello, Lou.
Hello.
What is your favorite Michael Jackson song?
Everything.
You like everything? Yeah, I mean, I understand that. The king of pop.
Yeah,
I mean, he had
just
so many number 1, number 10 hits. It's just Dirty Diana, Bad, Smooth Criminal. I mean, weren't they just fantastic songs? We do love Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure there's a couple of things, though, Lou. I know that you know quite a lot about Michael Jackson, but I think there's a couple of things that you might not know and that you might find quite surprising. And I'm also sure that our audience doesn't actually know, some of the things that I'm going to tell you about Michael Jackson's life and his work. Okay. One of the iconic things about Michael Jackson was obviously his dance routine. Okay. One thing that is very iconic is this constant grabbing of the groin area, the constant touching of the genitals. Okay. Now, at the beginning, to hold that package, and it's been copied so many times by other artists, especially hip hop artists, even Justin Bieber does that. You do the whole show just holding on to that, that piece. Yeah, right. Now, this wasn't actually an artistic expression at all. It might have turned into that, but originally, we were just talking about itchy balls.
No,
it was just itchy balls. This is not too uncommon.
Simple.
A lot of men, have, some itches down there, even women, but, Michael had this very serious condition of itchy balls. So, especially, when he first became, it really started, when he was just, going through puberty, as a young man, he had terrible, this terrible condition of itchy balls, and, the family didn't know what to do. The managers didn't know what to do. The choreographers, had no idea. Oh my God, what are we going to do with this? Because he was just scratching away. It would become sore. Sometimes it would grow into the size of apples. And it would bleed. It would get infected. And sometimes they had to postpone shows because he was lying at home in agony. Nobody could help. And to be fair, they tried a lot of things. They tried, like special creams. They tried antibiotics. Even they tried, like the very iconic white gloves that he's using. They may actually, trying to take the edge away. So he doesn't actually, cause too much damage. They would use cups that professional ice hockey players use. They would. They would even use nappies, but it would just look ridiculous. Michael Jackson always liked these really tight pants, and you couldn't go on stage with, big fat diapers, So they really tried everything, to control the situation, And then the choreographers were actually saying, you know what? Okay, so you're constantly going for that area. We understand you have to do it. You have to scratch the itch. Make it part of the routine. Make it part of the routine. And this is what happened. This is basically what happened. So whenever you see this, like, really going for it, it was just relief. It was great. He loved it, this is, it's a simple story, really, And in connection with that, actually, you also, this is another thing that he became quite famous for. Is these screams and like, or these things like. And all these kind of like hiccup kind of things, these. That was basically just him being in agony. He was in pain, because he was so sore, at times because he was overdoing it, So all these like, it's like when you hurt yourself and you don't want to scream in public. It's kind of like embarrassing. You want to suppress it. And this is exactly what he was doing, So whenever you hear in a sound like this, and these hiccupy things and these. That's basically him in agony, And but people misunderstand. You know, they think, oh, that's just that's part of the music. You know, and actually, it did work in the end. You know, so good for him actually. You know, so. Yeah, so this is like one of the easy explanations, you know, for this kind of routine. Now, the second thing I'm going to tell you about is, well, the most famous thing about his dance routine, the moonwalk, the moonwalking. You know, like walking backwards, although it looks like you're moving forward. Or what was it like? Yeah, no, I think that's exactly how it worked. Yeah. Again, a very simple explanation. This wasn't to begin with, you know, anything like a dance move or an artistic expression. It was a part of what could be described a condition called kleptomania. You see, when you have this urge to take things that don't belong to you, you know, like people go into shops and steal things. You cannot suppress that urge to actually do that, and that's exactly, you know, what and a lot of stars actually have this condition. I mean, imagine, you know, people, you know, like Michael Jackson, you know, they are the super rich. They can afford everything. They have everything. Money is not an issue. Money is not meaningful. So to kind of get like a bit of a buzz that we normally get from like going on shopping sprees, buying new things, you know, splashing out, they don't have that. You know, so they do something which is a bit, you know, dangerous, you know, a little bit exciting, and they just go into loads of different places and just take things with them. You know, and it's unstoppable urge, and loads of other artists do that. You know, I mean, you know, Winona Ryder got arrested, you know, for doing that. And interestingly, they don't go for like really expensive stuff. They just go for like, I mean, it could be socks. And they don't just get one pair, they get loads. Okay. Now, I know, Lou, you're probably asking yourself, what does that have to do with moonwalking? Where's the connection? Where's the connection with moonwalking? And I'm sure our audience thinks, yeah, okay, mate, what's the connection with moonwalking? Well, that's the thing. Michael Jackson thought if he takes things away, he kind of has to be as, you know, inconspicuous as possible, you know, so that nobody realizes what he was doing. You know, so if he took something from somebody, he would just keep looking at them, you know, maybe have a little chat, you know, and then slowly moving backwards while keeping eye contact, making sure that the other person doesn't know what's happening at the moment, and just casually walking out, really quietly, as if you, because if you turn around and suddenly run, that grabs your attention. So that was his way of you know, taking things away, you know, stealing, and then getting away from it. Now,
fade out.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, this happened on stage. I mean, this mostly happened on stage. Yeah, this happened with other artists. So when Michael Jackson was out there performing with his band, you know, things would go missing. You know, like the guitar picks would go missing. Guitars would disappear, other instruments would disappear, and it was funny. I mean, there were several shows, you know, and where people were just saying, Michael, I know this is my guitar. I'm the guitar player. You are taking it away from me. I can see it very, very clearly. But he would just, you know, continue with the show, you know, like doing his song, you know, and you know, moving backwards in his moonwalking way, you know, and again, as quietly as possible. It doesn't really matter. It was a concert, yeah. It was noisy, yeah, but he would still be doing that, you know. I mean, at one point, there was one concert in the 80s, I believe. He nicked the entire drum set, so it left the drummer. It left the drummer with nothing. Okay, and a couple of guitars went missing as well, you know. And yeah, I mean, if you watch live shows, you know, of Michael Jackson, and I urge our listeners to actually watch the live shows, and compare the number of instruments on stage at the beginning of the concert and at the end. Different. And they always became less. There were always few items towards the end, because, you know, he just couldn't stop nicking these kind of things. Okay, I mean, in the case of the drum set, this is when this is brilliant. You have to watch it. So he takes apart the drum set in front of millions of viewers, and then walks away casually, doing his moonwalk, pretending nothing is happening, and then beatboxing to imitate the drum. So nobody is actually realizing, yeah, you know, you're taking apart this drum set and you're stealing individual bits of the drum set. Okay, now, well, okay, well, this is, I'm sure, yeah, you're laughing, you know, but, you know, it was a serious condition, you know, so, it's I mean, and I think this is really also the reason, you know, why whenever you go to any kind of concerts, you know, especially when, you know, in the 80s or 90s even, you know, when Michael Jackson was around, you know, a guitarist, for example, they always got loads of guitars with them, and you know, whenever I watched other concerts by other artists, I was always wondering, why do you keep so many guitars? Because they're worried that Michael Jackson was around. I mean, it's as simple as that. Yeah. That's true. Absolutely, yeah. Now, the last thing that I want to tell you and the audience, don't laugh, okay, is the iconic voice. You know, I mean, you know, Michael Jackson was very, very famous for having this rather high-pitched voice, you know. In his songs, as well as when he was giving interviews, you know, he was like, hello, hello, I love you, hello, hello. It sounded very odd, very strange, actually, you know. People have always wondered about this, but again, there's a very simple explanation. A very simple explanation. Now, this, you know, he underwent a voice change through, you know, in puberty. I mean, that's when boys' voices basically break.
Yeah.
You know, you become you're turning from a boy to a man. You know, and then your voice becomes
Deeper.
lower, absolutely, and deeper, absolutely. Now, what happened in his case, it became ridiculously low. I mean, it was so low, he almost sounded like a cabbie from South London. Yeah, a cab driver. You're like, oh, man, you're right, mate. Where you want to go? Go on. I ain't got all day. This kind of thing, that's what it sounded like. And, you know, I mean, thinking, you know, yeah.
That's his real voice.
That's his real voice.
Really?
Yeah. He actually sounds like a cabbie from London. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he sounds a bit like Brian Gittens. You know, this is a comedian. You know, huge success. He has a very deep, very husky voice. Check him out if you don't know Brian Gittens. Check him out on Google. He's hilarious. But this is how he sounded. So his producers, the family, you know, thinking, okay, what are we going to do this? Michael cannot perform ABC. He cannot perform things like. I'll be there for you, and these kind of things. With that kind of voice, it sounds ridiculous. So what they did is, well, one of the first common procedures was to basically just, you know, lift the voice, you know, the sound of the voice, you know, making it a higher pitch. Okay. Now, accidentally, they overdid it, and it sounded too high. Okay, they didn't want to go that high, but the record that they were producing at the time already came out. Okay, and people absolutely loved it. They thought it was going to be a disaster with that high-pitched voice, but people absolutely loved it. And from then on, he had to sing like this. So on all the albums and all the concerts, you know, you hear him with that, you know, high-pitched, squeaky voice. Now, the thing that was quite difficult was when he was giving interviews, because he still had his very low voice and he couldn't change. So that's why, and this is what, again, people don't know, don't realize, he basically had a voice changer on him at all times. And he was actually keeping it under that white mask. You see, people always thought, oh, Michael Jackson is a bit crazy. You know, he takes it a little bit too seriously with his hygiene. You know, he's so worried about contamination. You know, very often he's using that mask. You know, well, under that was just a voice changer, so you wouldn't realize, you know, that he had actually had a very deep voice. So that would just change it to like this, hello, I love you, hello, I love you. Easy, you know, really easy. Later on, he didn't need it anymore. He had loads of plastic surgery, you know, to basically hide all the instruments under his skin. So, you know, and throat area. So, you know, that was an easy thing to do actually afterwards. And it was just, it was a huge success, absolutely. I mean, similarly, you know, other artists did the same thing. You know, this idea with the high-pitched voices. You know, the Bee Gees. Yeah, they did the same thing. You know, they also, again, coming from England, very low voices, all of them. You could hardly understand them. It's that low. You know, but they actually said, you know what, we're only going to do the songs like that. You know, they didn't want to sound like that. You know, want to sound like squeaky Mickey Mouse voices in public. You know, so when they gave interviews, they have normal voices. You know, very manly voices. But in the recordings, you know, okay, now we know that the same thing as Michael Jackson, right? Now,
but why Michael Jackson couldn't do that high normal voice for the interview?
Well, because he had a very, very low voice.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, no, he couldn't. That was impossible. Once you have that kind of voice, it's difficult to put it on. You know, it was that low. You have to understand. You know, it was really that very low. Yeah, and you know, I mean, this is really what I would call the untold story of Michael Jackson. You know, and I hope you learned something. I hope our listeners learned something that you didn't know. So yeah, thanks for liking and commenting on this episode. And if you really can't get enough of chocolate and cheese, well, why don't you just subscribe to our channel? Just punch that button really, really hard. Lou, what time is it?
It's time to cut the cheese.